Today our topic is thymus gland. Thymus gland is a small organ present in the upper chest cavity. Here, this thymus gland play an important role in both the immune system and endocrine system. Thymus gland help to create the immunity against the various disease or infection. So thymus gland is the specialized primary lymphoid organ in the body where the T lymphocytes formed and undergo the maturation. Here at the puberty, the size or mass of the thymus gland is small. It is about 15 gram at the birth, but after the birth it may slightly grows and up to the puberty. After the puberty, the size of the thymus gland that decreased. That means that at the age of the 62, the thymus gland weight is around 15 gram. But in the case of after the 72 years, that is a weight of the thymus gland is 5 gram. Then one question is arised here. Then what is the importance, or what is the why the mass of the thymus gland is reduced after the puberty? At the stage of the puberty, around 35 to 15 gram weight is achieved by the thymus gland. So that is here the processing of the question. Answer is for this question, the processing of T lymphocyte occurs, that is a period between the 3 months before the birth and after 3 month birth. So if you remove the thymus gland after the 3 months of the birth, it will not affect the cell mediated immunity. That is the answer for this question. From the picture, you can see where the thymus gland is actually situated. Thymus is present behind the sternum between the lungs. The figure you can see, that is where it is located. It is exactly located in front of trachea, below the thyroid gland. From this picture you can see thyroid gland, the anterior to the ascending aorta over the heart. Here it is from the picture, thymus gland is more or less triangular in shape. Here this gland is a soft pinkish bilobed mass of lymphoid tissue. Thymus is a small in newborn infant. Gradually it enlarges till the puberty. Just go through there is histology. In the histology of the thymus gland is here you can see, that is from the picture, interlobular septum you can see, then a capsule, lymphoid duct, artery, and that is vein also you can see. The blood nerve supply, that means blood and nerve supply in the thymus gland. Here the branches of the internal thoracic and inferior thyroid arteries are sometimes seen in the thymus gland. Then the veins of thymus, left brachiocephalic vein and internal thoracic vein and inferior thyroid vein. Here you can see the thymic corpuscles. Thymic corpuscles means it is also called as a Hassel's. Corpuscles are spherical or oval bodies present in the medulla in the thymus. They are a phagocytic in function. Then this picture is also showing that is Hassel's cells or Hassel's corpuscles or thymic corpuscle cells. In the center part is in a there is a medulla in the thymus. Now just to see this picture, the histology here, an enveloping layer of a connecting tissue hold the two lobes closely together. Here the two lobes are held together by the enveloping, that is, connective tissue, but the connective tissue is called as a capsule that is separate the two lobes. The projection of the capsules called as a trabeculae from the capsule, you can see that is one some projection towards internally, that is called as a trabeculae, which penetrate inward and divide each lobe into lobules. Each lobules consist of an outer cortex and the central medulla. From the picture you can see where the medulla, where the cortex, where the lobules are there, then capsule also. You can see the picture. Thus, in the picture you can see the following part like a cortex, medulla, capsules and lobules. Each lobule is consists of an outer cortex and inner medulla. The cortex is densely packed with a immature T cells called as a thymocyte. The medulla where there are fewer lymphoid cells or thymocytes. That is the histology of thymus gland. Here, hormones. Thymosin is the important hormone secreted by thymus gland. Is a peptide hormone. It accelerates the lymphopoiesis. Lymphopoiesis is means generation of an lymphocyte. Here, pluripotent lymphoid stem cells, that is the lymphoid stem cells, which from lymphoid stem cells forms a lymphoblast. From the lymphoblast, the lymphocyte is formed. Then once the lymphocyte is formed, that is enter into the thymus gland, where there is the processing is occurred. So the proliferation of lymphocytes, that is a multiplication, and accelerate the lymphopoiesis is the main function of the thymosin. Then another hormone is thymine, is also called as a thymopoietin. It suppresses the neuromuscular activity by inhibiting the acetylcholine release. Hyperactivity of this thymus gland that lead to the myasthenia gravis. Myasthenia gravis is a long neuromuscular disease which is caused by autoimmune disease, which is caused by the autoimmune, the type of the antibody that is a form. These antibodies which may distract the neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, so that lead to the varying degree of the skeletal muscle weakness. That is myasthenia gravis. The hyperactivity of the thymus gland that lead to the myasthenia gravis. In addition to that, thymus gland also secrete the thymic hormonal factors THF and thymic factor TF is also secreted by the thymus gland. The function of the thymus gland has both lymphoid function and endocrine function. It plays an important role in development of immunity in the body. Thymus has two function. First one is the processing of T lymphocytes. Second one is the endocrine function. The processing of lymphocytes thymus play an essential role processing of lymphocytes. Here, the thymus gland has an important role in the developing of immunity by the processing of T lymphocyte. Here, the lymphocyte which are produced in the bone marrow, as we already we learned, that is the stem cells, pluripotent hematopoietic stem cells are processed in the thymus into T lymphocytes. The process occurs mostly during the period between the just before the birth and few months after the birth. The T cell is mature. Then once the that is thymocytes is formed, lymphocyte is formed, then T cell have matured. They will migrate and are stored in the lymphoid tissue of a lymph nodes, spleen, bone marrow, and there is a gastrointestinal tract. During the primary T lymphocytes are transformed into the four types. The first one is the helper T cells or the inducer T cells. These cells are also called as a CD4 cells because of the presence of molecules called CD4 on the surface. Second one is the cytotoxic T cells or killer T cells. These cells are also called as a CD8 cells because the presence of molecule CD4 cells on the surface. The third one is the suppressor T cells that suppress the activities of the killer cells. Sometimes it is required, some cases that means the killer cells, that is sometimes that may kill its own tissues. At that time, the suppressor T cells that suppress the activities of the killer cells. And the fourth one is the memory T cells. Some of the T cells activated by the antigen. In the presence of antigen, these memory T cells are activated, but still they are present in the lymphoid tissue. Here, when that is the same and that is antigen or the organism is enter into the body, then these memory T cell which easily recognize or identify the organisms and immediately activate the T cells. Such a cell is called as a T cell, that is a T cell or memory T cells. Okay. Then some abnormalities of already we learned, that is a processing. During the processing, that four T cells are formed. Here, some cases, some abnormalities of thymus can result in a decreased number of the T cells or autoimmune disease like myasthenia gravis may happen. That is the importance of the thymus gland. Now we learn about the anatomy, that is histology, location, and the functions, hormones, then abnormalities, disorders, abnormal disease. We learn. Okay, thank you.